When you hear the phrase stress test, you might think of running on a treadmill hooked up to a bunch of wires. But have you ever thought about doing a stress test for your retirement plan? Here's the truth. Retirement looks great on paper until life throws you the curveball. Markets drop, inflation creeps higher than expected, healthcare costs rise, and you end up living longer than you imagined. If your plan only works in good times, then it's not really a plan, it's a shot in the dark. And crossing your fingers and hoping for the best is not a strategy. That's why stress testing your retirement plan is so important. It's about asking, what could go wrong? And would I still be okay if it did? Today I want to talk you through what a retirement stress test looks like and why it matters and some of the biggest scenarios that you should prepare for. Let's start with the first big one, market downturns. If you retire at 65 and the market drops 20% in your first couple of years, that's not just a bad break, it can completely change the trajectory of your retirement income. This is what we call sequence of returns risk. Now here's how it works. Imagine you've saved $1 million and you're planning to withdraw $40,000 a year. If markets are stable or rising, your withdrawals may hardly dent your portfolio. But if the market drops early in retirement, you're withdrawing from a shrinking balance. Now that money has less time to recover and your portfolio could be permanently damaged. A good stress test asks, what happens to my plan in the first 3 years of retirement? Something happens, and what will it look like? Think about 2008. Could you still make the income you need without running out of money? If the answer is no, then it's time to adjust your strategy, maybe by building a larger safety income bucket or staggering withdrawals from different accounts. The second big stress factor is inflation. Now we've all seen prices climb in recent years, groceries, gas, insurance, you name it. Even modest inflation, say 3% a year, will double your cost of living over a 25-year retirement. Now here's the problem. A lot of people build their retirement plan assuming today's costs stay the same. But that's not reality. Healthcare, in particular, tends to rise faster than overall inflation. So a good stress test asks, what if inflation averages higher than we expect? Could my income keep up? If not, you may need more growth-oriented investments or at least a strategy that balances safety with inflation protection. Speaking of healthcare, that brings us to the third scenario. Even with Medicare, retirees face premiums, copays, and out-of-pocket costs. Then there's long-term care, which isn't covered by Medicare and can run into the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen too many people plan for retirement as though healthcare will be a steady, predictable line item. But the truth is, it's often the wild card. A stress test asks, what if one of us needs to go to long-term care for several years? Could our plan absorb $5,000 a month for assisted living without bankrupting the surviving spouse? Here's another one people overlook, living longer than expected. Most people underestimate their own life expectancy. If you're a couple in your mid-60s, there's a chance one of you will live into your 90s. That means your retirement could last 30 years or more. A stress test asks, what if I live 10 years longer than I planned for? Would my income still last? Because running out of money at 85 or 90 is not something any of us wants to experience. And then there's tax changes. Today's tax rates are historically low, but they may not stay that way forever. If Congress raises taxes in the future, and most of your savings are in tax-deferred accounts like IRAs or 401ks, then your retirement income could be much smaller than you expected. Another thing the stress test asks, what happens if tax rates rise by 5 or 10 percentage points during my retirement? Do I have a strategy, like a Roth conversion or diversifying account types that could soften the blow? So how do you actually do a stress test on your retirement plan? It's not about predicting the future. It's about running what-if scenarios. You take your plan and ask, what if the market drops? What if inflation runs higher than expected? What if healthcare costs spike? What if I live longer? Then you look at whether your plan still holds up or whether it crumbles. Think of it like testing the foundation of your house. You don't want to find out there's a crack after the storm has already hit. You want to know ahead of time so you can shore it up while the sun is still shining. Here's what I've found. When people go through this kind of testing, two things happen. First, they feel more confident. Retirement is full of uncertainty, but when you've run the numbers and seen that your plan can withstand the bumps, you don't worry about it as much, and especially you don't care about the nightly news. Now, second, they make smarter adjustments ahead of time. Maybe keep a bigger cash cushion or shift part of their portfolio to more reliable income sources. Maybe they do tax planning earlier or explore insurance options for health care. In other words, they stop guessing and start preparing. Let me leave you with this thought. Retirement isn't just about having enough money on day one. It's about having enough money in year 10, 20, and year 30. The difference between a fragile plan and a resilient plan is whether you've stress tested it against the risk you can't control. You can't control markets, inflation, or healthcare costs, but you can control whether your plan is ready for them. And that's what gives you the freedom to actually enjoy retirement instead of constantly worrying about what might go wrong. If you'd like to see how your retirement holds up under different scenarios, both good and bad, I'd be happy to run a stress test for you. That way, you'll know whether your plan is truly ready for whatever comes next.